Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Yogi and the Blonde. I am Nadia, aka the Yogi, and this is.
I am Michelle, aka The Blonde. And I'm feeling very blonde, actually. I had my hair coloured this week,
I noticed that.
and it had been actually quite a while. So I was like 2 shades of blonde until Tuesday, and now I'm feeling very blonde. So
Yeah,
living up to my name.
platinum. Isn't that more
Platinum blonde.
like
It
platinum
does
blonde?
it does
That
look
to me that looks a
very,
little more like platinum blonde. And I'm
yeah.
the same old, long, letting my grays come through type of gal.
Girl, own it.
I'm living remotely. So you know what? It's been 3 weeks since I've been off site. Like I've gone for hikes and walks and stuff, but haven't like went out into other cities or towns or anything like that. It's been 3 weeks. So we are Friday, and next week Tuesday we close down for a few days, and I'm gonna, on my days off, I'm gonna go to Westport. There's a regular guest that come here, befriended, and I'm gonna go crash with him. And I guess there's like all these amazing paths that Westport have created that you can go for a bike ride. So he's got heaps of bikes, so I'm gonna go
Lovely.
for a bike ride even in the rain. I'll bring my rain pants and my rain jacket. I'm used to being in the rain all the time, being in the West.
Nice.
So
The
yeah,
Wet West.
yeah, wet west, west west.
Fabulous. That
Wow.
sounds fun.
Yes. Anywho, so today, let's get on topic here. We know how we can get off track very easily.
We love a tangent.
We do that a lot. Now, today we are doing Gut Health 101. This is the basics you need to know about gut health. Yeah, and we're going to be both like sharing our knowledge and our expertise. And we're going to start off with the lovely Michelle here. Michelle, what's some basic ideas? What's the basic knowledge about? No, let me rephrase that. What's the basic understanding of how important the gut health is to our body fully and completely?
Well, I guess it helps to start with understanding what is our gut. So,
Mm-hmm.
our gut is basically our digestive system. So, literally, it starts at our mouth. We've got a continuous tube that literally goes from in one end and out the other. And that whole system is our digestive system,
Yeah.
and our gut. And if something goes wrong somewhere within that in and out, then we're going to have some issues. So, gut health is something that is really hot topic at the moment because it hasn't been studied loads, but there's a lot of research going into it now. And you might have heard things like the gut microbiome
Mm-hmm.
being talked about. And they're finding out some really exciting things about how our gut basically affects everything that happens in our body. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense if you think about what the function of the gut is. So the gut is responsible for basically digesting food and extracting the nutrients from the food that we need in order for our body to run optimally. And
Mm-hmm.
we've talked hundreds and hundreds of times on this podcast and within our own practices and on our own social media about how important it is to have a diet rich in plant-based foods, how it's important
Mm.
to make sure you're getting in all of your vitamins and minerals, how important it is to make sure you're getting in a nice balance of macronutrients, because your body literally can't function properly or efficiently without those things. So what we put into our digestive system is really important, and then what the gut does to extract all of that good stuff out and shuttle it into our body is really important as well. So it's not just, oh, eat your veggies, everyone's like, oh, veggies boring. It's
Yeah.
all part of, we need the stuff that's in the veggies to help our bodies run efficiently. And so it makes sense that that is a really important area that's being studied now, because when we're not feeding our gut properly, or when we are having issues within that digestive system, you can really see how that would have implications on the rest of your body and also the quality of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So just the basics. We talked about how we could totally go off into millions of in-depth things, but we
Tangents.
want to keep this one really high level, and we're going to probably keep talking about this. And actually, we've already done podcasts on this subject as well, which we'll link to in our show notes.
Yeah,
And we've
because that
talked about,
was, you can refer back. That was podcast 7 and 8, is 6 and 7,
yeah, when we were
6
really
and
talking
7.
about
Yeah,
30
I-
parts a week and all of that.
yeah.
So,
So, and just having that diversity with the
yeah,
food, of
yeah,
diversity within the plant base, and how that helps
yeah,
with the gut. And that
yeah.
was, so go refer back to that if you guys want to
Mm.
listen. We've also, I think on that, we've got like links to the challenge, so you guys can join in with the
Yeah,
challenge
yeah, you
and
can do the
help with your
challenge
gut health.
whenever. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Because the gut microbiome, basically, it sounds gross, but it's basically billions of bacteria living inside our
I
digestive
love how
system.
you think you think it
It
sounds
sounds
gross, because
gross. Well,
I
it does,
don't
because when
think
you,
it sounds gross.
no, but I guess, when you think of bacteria, you just assume it's bad because, you've got
Yeah.
all of these cleaning products where it's like 99.9% gets rid of bacteria. So, people get food poisoning from bacteria. So, bacteria kind of
Yeah.
gets a negative rap. So then you
So
think, oh my
how
God, I've
about,
got billions inside me.
why
Eh.
why don't you say good bacteria? Then
Well, there's probably a bit of a balance in there. There's probably good and bad, and they all work together in a little ecosystem of keeping each other in check.
but when you think about the microbiome, isn't microbiome actually the good bacteria
My understanding is that there's a bit of everything, and often when things go wrong, it's when there's an overgrowth
of
of
one?
one or the other, and the balance is thrown out. And I think this is why the science has taken so long and why it's so complicated, because everybody's microbiome is
It's
different.
different.
There's
Yeah.
not like a perfect ratio of this bacteria to this bacteria to this bacteria, because it's different for everybody. So that obviously makes it a lot harder to
And that's
study.
why when you look at supplements like a probiotic supplement, doesn't mean one type of brand of supplement, because they make the probiotics slightly different every brand. So just because one brand doesn't work for you, you've got to find a brand that's going to work for you, because your body's unique.
Yes. Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
So it does make sense. It just, I guess, for the poor scientists, makes it quite hard to
It's
study.
complicated.
And it
It's
is
complicated.
complicated. And like we said, we want to try and keep this real basic and high level. So understanding what the gut is, we're putting foods in. Hopefully they're full of nutrients. Our gut digests it, extracts those nutrients, sends it into our bodies, and then passes through the waste. That's what would happen in a nice, healthy, functioning gut.
Mm-hmm.
However, that's not always how it works, is it, in real life, Miss
No,
Yogi?
no. And the thing is, though, I think what we'll do as well, we will go down the road and create different episodes. Let me rephrase that. Episodes about the brain and gut connection as well, because that can go we can go in a deep dive this way.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I said to Michelle, I was going to call you Kim. Why am I calling you Kim? Anyway, Michelle, to Michelle, that, sorry about that. My mind's somewhere else. No, the one thing we've discussed about is we want to just give you the basics. And that's what a good gut does, is like what Michelle just explained. Was there anything else that you really wanted to cover on that as well?
You did remind me, actually. So obviously that is the system, the digestive system, that's its main function. But of course that functions within the body. And we talked about the nutrients being extracted. You talked about that brain to gut connection. And this is something that's really being studied and looked into as well. The brain and the gut communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. And I think you've said it before. I can't remember what the saying is. It's like, the brain is the computer of your body, and the gut is the powerhouse, the factory. So how the body keeps burning every day, how it keeps running. So those guys are absolutely linked. And something that I love, which I think explains it really well, is that whole feeling of getting butterflies in your tummy. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're excited or nervous or something, you feel it in your tummy and you get butterflies or whatever. That just really clearly shows the connection that a thought or a feeling has in your mind and how that can affect your digestive system. And it works vice versa. The gut communicates with the brain to tell you if it's full, if it needs feeding, if there's something going wrong. So it's a two-way communication.
But it makes sense. Like I think we're going to go a little bit deeper on another tangent on this at another time. But with the gut as well, the serotonin is made in our gut. So if our gut is bad, and that's our happy mood,
Yeah.
right? So that's how that affects our depression and anxiety. And if you think about the vagus nerve is attached to the bottom of the brainstem and goes into the abdomen, into your gut, where your diaphragm is, just below your ribs. When that's why they say belly breathing is so important. So right in there as well. So there's all this connection we think about. So the food we eat literally affects our mood, affects how we do things. And
Yeah.
it just makes me go,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you spend your days eating majority processed, non-nutritious shit, you're going to feel like shit.
It's going to affect
Whereas
you.
if you're nourishing yourself with good things, you're probably going to feel better for it. So,
Yeah,
you
your
know,
serotonin levels will be better.
you'll be stoked. So I think that gives a high enough overview of
Mm-hmm.
what it is, what it does. As you said, we can go into way more detail about the connections everywhere, and we will.
We
However,
will.
today we're keeping it high level. So, Nadia, some tips on how we can do our best to keep our gut healthy. And just to be clear, obviously there are lots of conditions that affect the gut, like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. There are diseases
Celiac.
that affect celiac. There are lots of diseases that affect your digestive system. And I guess this isn't about that.
It's
This
a
is about if you've
general.
got, this is general advice. If you've got a normally functioning gut, how can we focus on keeping it
Yeah.
healthy?
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, though, it's like these are basic things that everyone can apply to. Um, but again, this is just generalization. This is a word I've been using a lot. Is that even a word, generalization?
Generalization, yes, it is.
Okay, and generalization of this is in generalization. So again, like Michelle said, if you've got a condition, you're going to have to modify to work with your beautiful, unique body. So again, let's refer back to what Michelle we were talking at the beginning of referring back. Is it episode 6, 7? I think it is. Yeah, I think it's episode 6, 7. Is
Yes.
it, Michelle? Yeah. So 6, 7. So talking about eating a diverse range of food. So having that a diverse diet promotes diverse microbiome, which is what Michelle was telling us, which helps with it's crucial for our health. And having different types of bacteria feed on different types of food. So having that varied is really good for the gut bacteria. So that means in a variety of vegetables, of whole grains, of legumes in your diet. And we even talk about that in this 30 plant week challenge. Now, and then just also experiment, because one person's food is another person's poison. So just play around. Just because they say, oh, you should be eating, if you're doing probiotics, you should be having like garlics and onion and all that. But some people can't have garlic and onion, especially if you've got IBS or anything like that. It's just not something that you should do. But prebiotics and probiotics are really important. Now, I've started doing, because I'm in my perimenopause stage of my life, and my gut's changed a lot, my body's changing a lot. And so, and I've had a bit of issues this year, health issues. And so I've been taking, I'm not promoting, I'm not this is not a paid promotion or anything like that, but it's just what works for me. I love the Be Pure product, which is a New Zealand brand, supplement brand. They're clean. It's everything studied by Ben Warren. But he's got one for the gut, which is a powdered, and it's prebiotic. It's probiotics with fiber. So that means we're feeding that as well. So I mix this in. I do cacao every morning, like ceremonial cacao with water, and I add that in, no sugar, nothing added to it, and I have that. So that's helping with my gut. So even having that, and again, going back to the vegetables, making sure we're eating enough fibers. So having that, we should be having a good amount, and make sure your fibers also from whole grains, nothing processed, nothing in like quick little packages that you just pop into the microwave kind of thing, because that means there's a lot of what's some chemicals in there, Michelle, you're good with that, a lot of preservatives, that's the word I'm looking for, a lot of preservatives, which we also want to, and sugars, and refined sugars and that kind of stuff, so we want to get away from that. um and then but also I just want you to keep in mind, if you're not one that eats much fiber, you want to slowly increase that fiber, because if you go too hardcore and go lots and lots of fiber, it might not work for your stomach. It's just like anything that you learn, you just slowly increase and slowly bring it into your daily routine. Another one I'm really big on is hydration is so important, because this helps to remove the waste. You know, our body's 80-70% water. We need that to help move the waste. The kidneys, the liver, all of that need to remove with the waste. I'm going to share a little thing here. I had a client, she was in her 70s. She just drank black tea, never water. And she was just a tiny woman. All she needed was 1.5 liters of water per day. We implemented some tools. She was able to get it up to a liter a day, plus her black tea that she would drink. Now, it was like months later, she had a checkup with her doctor, and he looked at her and he's like, "What are you doing differently?" And she's like, "Why?" And she was concerned at first. She's like, "Oh, why? What's wrong?" And he's like, "Nah, it's good." He's like, "Your kidney and liver function have improved." And she was so cheeky. Here comes to me, hands on her hip. She's like, "Guess what my doctor said has happened with my tests and how different they are." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, and I'm like, "Oh my God," I'm thinking worst case scenario as she was. And she's like, "My kidney, my liver function improved." Why do you think that is, Nadia? The only thing we've changed in her diet wise was hydration. And so it just shows you in that as well. And that'll help with the gut. Again, going back, we want to limit our sugar and artificial sweeteners. So and that's even in drinks, so sugary foods and drinks. Read labels. There's a lot of hidden sugars in processed foods, so just making sure what you're eating there. Now, another one is, which I actually led, I've been playing around with this flow, a yoga flow, to help with gut issues. And because somebody has requested for me to do a yoga flow to a client online, a yoga flow for gut. She's got IBS and for gut. So I've done some research and I've been playing with this flow. And today is the first day I've like used it here at Maria in a class I was teaching this morning. I'm like, oh, I'm going to bring out this flow and see how it goes. And actually afterwards, I really had to go to the loo. Like number twos. And I'm like, oh my God. I gotta go. But it was.
So if you're constipated, bring out the yoga flow is what you're telling us.
There's specific poses when you think about it. Like this research I was doing is quite interesting. When I was asked about this, I already knew what kind of poses that person should be doing. But it was just good to do my research, do my reading, and making sure, that my intuition was right. But it was good because I was also reading the reasons why. So you think about like stretching something, right? You're creating space. When we twist, again, we're creating that, we're twisting things. So you think like, I like when you talk about a twist, I like talking about like a sponge. When you have a sponge that's full of water, it's heavy, right? And then when you grab it and wring it, all that goes out. And then when you release it, it's nice and puffy and fluid. And that's how a lot of it is. But even using strength So what a lot of this movement does when you do like cat cow and do back openings, like back bends and twists and stuff, this actually strengthens your abdominals, strengthens the spine, gets the movement, the blood flow through as well. So when we are stressed, actually the blood goes away from our organs, which is all around where our abdomen and our chest is, and goes into our limbs. So that means we're not processing foods correctly. So that means we then we're stressed. So the blood flow isn't going there. It's same thing when you're depressed or anything, you don't have blood flow going to the frontal cortex. That really affects it as well as your mood and mental health. Same thing with our gut. So if we're quite sedimentary and we're sitting and we're hunched and we're like this all the time, then of course that compresses the blood flow. But even if you are sitting for long periods of time, because that's what your work is, you're in front of a computer, doing some side bended, some stretching like this, some twists like this at your desk will make such a big difference. So for those that are just listening, go and watch the video on YouTube and you'll see some stuff. If you go to my social media page, I do have a free document there of stretches you can do at your desk. And by just even that'll help bring the blood flow, especially because we have lunch and what do we do after lunch if we've got a sedimentary job? We sit.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes we feel kind of tired and lethargic. And one more thing for stress management is the breath. So if we start doing belly breathing, so you're breathing in and out through the nose and you're breathing into your diaphragm, that's going to push onto the vagus nerve. Then that's going to go up to the brain and that'll help with our stress. So making sure nice, soft, long breaths in and out through the nose, extending the exhale will help with our stress management, which will help with our gut.
Lovely.
I could have kept going on that, but I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to zip it to that.
And mic drop. I've got a client.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names because they might be embarrassed. They have poor hip mobility. So I will often get them to do the 90-90 switches.
Yeah.
Switching between two 90-90s. And they don't like doing it because it makes them want to fart.
That's a good thing.
Which is a good thing, yes, because it's kind of letting stuff out. But then they get really embarrassed. They don't want to fart in front of me in our sessions. But it's quite funny how the movement, it's only that movement that's obviously triggers something. But it's obviously what you said, where you're moving kind of things in that area. You're moving the intestines around and maybe you're allowing some things to release that have got trapped up in there. So
because if you think about it, you're doing a bit of a twist, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got air in there, gas in there, of course you're going to squeeze it out. It's like that whole thing about the wet, heavy sponge. Thank you. Why can't I think of things right now? Wet, heavy sponge.
Perimenopause.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but that's not the topic for today. But yeah, so you think about that of the whole sponge thing of like, and you let go of all that gas, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. There's this pose I love doing. It's called rocking and rolling. So you make a little ball, you catch a hold of the back of the knees, bring the chin into the chest, and you roll up and down on the spine because you make a ball. And I've so many times I've like taught that. There's been some places where I taught regularly and I had regular people that came, because here it's not regular people, it's different people that stay here and stuff. But classes where it was regular people, I would know who's gonna fart because they would fart and then we'd do that and then they'd fart again. But it's a good thing. Like,
why do we find farts so funny? It's so childish, but maybe it's the surprise element. It catches you off guard, so you're like, woo!
Maybe. I don't know. I think because
awkward.
behind the farting, there's sometimes smell. And that could be the thing. You feel kind of like, that's embarrassing, right? Smell, like that nasty word, smell.
And you know what? That's actually something, we're not going to talk about it now, but a podcast that we are going to record is Signs of an Unhealthy Gut. We've talked about ways today that you can try and make sure that you have a healthy gut, but we're going to do another episode about how you can be aware that your gut isn't doing too well and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And actually a
And
very strong smelling
gas.
fart or gas or bowel movement is one of those signs. So
yeah.
stay
Well,
tuned.
do you know what's interesting is before I started this journey, I used to fart a lot. And so it's interesting. And now I don't, when I do fart, it's because my stomach's upset, which is very rare that it does that. But when I do, it's because I need to go number twos.
So it's like preparing.
Well, it's because I need to go, but I can't go at that moment. So I'm like, oof, it's like, it's wanting to come out. It's like, let me out, but you're holding me in. It's like holding a burp or holding a sneeze, that hurts. Yeah, that same thing. Okay, I think that's enough talk about flatulence.
Flatulence. That's probably a more professional word to say than fart.
See, I maybe have a little perimenopause, but I'm coming up with words that I don't normally say either.
Great words, yeah, nice. You've forgotten some, but some new ones have come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like gratefulness, right? Sorry. A little bit of an inside joke between Michelle and I.
Yeah, before we came and started recording, I said something about gratefulness, and I was like, oh no, that's not a word. And Nadia was like, yes, it is. I was like, gratefulness, that's not a word. And now I'm saying it loads. It's like, it's obviously a word. But yeah, Nadia actually had to go on Google to prove that it is a word. So.
And I'm not the scientist here. She's the scientist out of us.
I'm not a scientist.
You're the science geek. The science geek.
I'm a
science geek. You like that kind of stuff. But in saying that, I do want to say, Michelle, you have been rubbing off on me because normally when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm starting to do a lot more research. And thank you for the influence, by the way. Thank you a lot. Not saying that I don't do research. I don't know how to say it. I just have more interest in doing research. I'm a lot more curious, maybe, if that would be the better say.
Yeah.
Not saying that I've never done research before, but I'm more interested, if that's interesting. So you've
more than you were.
Yeah. So thank you for the influence, love.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Anyways, well, we on a feel-good note there for each other. That is us for today. Thank you for joining us for the Gut Health 101, the basics you need to know. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Now, comment, please share and let us know what was a takeaway, one takeaway for you, something that you want to know more about that we've maybe just touched a little bit about. Now, just comment down below, to the side, up above, wherever you're listening. It's usually below, but if you could comment, love, share, and like us and subscribe, that helps us to have more time to keep creating. So we're not making money off this, but we're doing it because we have a love of sharing knowledge and helping people. So
exactly.
Thanks again for sharing, for coming along. Oh my God, today. Okay, thanks a lot.
It's
one of those
We've shared probably a bit too much.
That's okay. Thanks for joining in, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.